I'm Lane Sutton, and welcome to YBA Today, where you can get your daily dose of sports, news, technology, updates, and entertainment. I'm Lane Sutton, and here's John.
I'm Johnny Carollo, and here are today's top news stories. After about 30 years of shuttling crews up to the International Space Station, having them fix satellites, and having them perform scientific studies, the final space shuttle mission is coming to an end. The Space Shuttle Atlantis undocked from the International Space Station at 2:28 a.m. ET Tuesday morning at about 250 miles above Earth. Atlantis is due to return from orbit this Thursday from NASA's final Space Shuttle mission. So what will NASA do now that after 335 astronauts have been sent into space and after 134 missions have been completed? They will now apparently rely on the Russian Space Agency to ferry U.S. astronauts to orbit.
Very interesting. I wonder what will happen next. Well, it's time out for technology, and here's your daily dose of the Apple. We've heard that Apple is already installing its new operating system, macOS X Lion, which we reported on yesterday, in Apple stores and Apple Care support centers. It is said that Lion will release at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesday, July 20th, on the Mac App Store. The new version of the MacBook Air will also come out on Wednesday with a backlit keyboard with standard 4 gigabytes of RAM versus the previous 2 gigabytes of RAM, and Lion will be the primary operating system. Apple is testing display panels from Samsung and LG for its next generation iPad 3. It will feature a Retina display, and we are sure that we won't see another iPad this year, though, because Steve Jobs, CEO of Apple, revealed at the iPad 2 announcement that 2011 is the year of the iPad 2. For quite an amazing story, a Minnesotan found that his iPhone 4 could sustain a 13,500-foot drop when he was skydiving. Apparently, it landed on top of a building, and using a GPS tracking app, he was able to find it. Luckily, the glass back and screen were shattered, but the phone still worked and even vibrated from a call. Quite amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy is already camping out in a tent outside the London Apple Store. As you can see in the picture, he looks quite ambitious, waiting for the next iPhone 5. It isn't supposed to release until September or October, but boy, does he have quite some determination and patience. I'm also excited for it, but seriously? His tweet was, "I will be camping out on the streets of London for the launch of the iPhone 5 in a marketing and PR experiment." Apparently, he is 29 years old and has acquired $1,100 worth of outdoor gear, free food, gadgets, and clothing in exchange for advertising to help him survive the campout. As you can see, his tent is full of products. I'd love to see how that turns out.
Me too.
Another rumor says that Apple will release the new iPhone 4S, also iPhone 5, we don't know what name it will be called, but on top of that, we might see an inexpensive iPhone 3GS offered at a major discount, which might even be free or at a very affordable price with a 2-year contract. On another note, at this time of recording, Apple was at another all-time high, record high of $378.65 on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange under ticker symbol AAPL. Today, July 19th, Apple will be releasing its earnings report, so we will want to hear that big news later this afternoon. And later this week, in other technology companies, Intel and Verizon will be announcing their earnings. This is Time Out for Tech. I'm Lane Sutton for YBA Today.
Thank you. There has been a lot of saddening stories in the news lately, but this next story is one that is quite the opposite. At 11:30 a.m. Monday morning, 57-year-old Katie Miller was riding her bike through the parking lot of an IHOP on Route 22 when 78-year-old Gilbert Fetterbush ran her over with his 2001 Isuzu Rodeo. 10 pedestrians saw this incident occur and instead of waiting for paramedics to arrive, lifted the car off of her. Police Chief William Parenti stated that the acts of the pedestrians might have saved her life, and also stated that the heroic people who pulled the car off of her made the right call. Miller suffered several broken ribs and a possible punctured lung, but is expected to have a full recovery. I'm Johnny Carollo for YBA Today, and now we send it over to Max who has a sports update on the Red Sox.
Thanks, Johnny. The Red Sox got in on Monday to their hotel in Baltimore at 6 a.m. after an epic 16-inning game with the Tampa Bay Rays in which they won by a score of 1-0. The Red Sox were clearly tired going into the opening game against the Orioles, but they didn't show it. Let's go to the highlights. The Red Sox took on the Orioles. They were 6-2 against the Orioles going into the game. Here's Tim Wakefield throwing the pitch to Adam Jones, and it is a deep drive to center field. Josh Reddick is going back, and it is off the wall to J.D. Drew fielding it, the right fielder who has been in a lot of trade speculation. The Orioles take the early 2-0 lead, but the Red Sox would climb back. They would take a 6-2 lead until in the 5th inning when J.J. Hardy would hit a home run just avoiding the foul pole. A 2-run home run makes it 6-4 Orioles. Tim Wakefield could not go very deep into this game. Later on in the 5th, Adam Jones is up with the bases cleared. He hits a line drive shot deep into the bleachers in left field, and that ball is way gone. It's 6-5. The Orioles are climbing back into it, and Tim Wakefield is obviously frustrated. And, well, it looks like the highlights are restarting on us, having some technical difficulties. Well, basically, the Red Sox came back. They tied it at 7-7. They then went on, scored 8 runs in the 8th inning, and won the game by a score of 15-10 to go 7-2 against the Orioles this year. So with those technical difficulties, at least we got the final score out to you, 15-10 Red Sox. Now let's send it back over to Lane and Johnny.
Nice report. Thanks, Max. Borders Group Incorporated, the second largest United States bookstore retailer, is getting closer to its liquidation. The bidding deadline already passed without any offers for buyback yesterday at 5:00 p.m. The book chain filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing back in February after struggling to compete with its larger rival, Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com, as more consumers purchased their books as ebooks or over the web. Now, Borders was late into getting into the e-reader market and fell behind. Its own e-reader, the Kobo, did not release until mid-2010. The iPad, the Nook, and the Kindle were all released sooner, even as far back as 2007. I do wonder how the bankruptcy will affect its 11,000 remaining employees who will lose their jobs. 399 stores will be liquidated as soon as Friday, with the rest to conclude by September's end. Following the best efforts of all parties, we are saddened by this development, said Borders President Mike Edwards in a statement. Aren't we all sad to see such a major retailer keeping printed books alive to shut down? I know most stores in Massachusetts have already closed, and the store has stayed alive for 40 years, which is pretty good for that kind of business. This Thursday, on July 21st, Borders will ask the United States Bankruptcy Court of the Southern District of New York to allow it to be sold to liquidators. Who will be next? Barnes & Noble? I actually don't think so, because in March, Liberty Media, the parent company of QVC, and John Maloney bought the largest book retailer for $1 billion. The last time Borders made a profit was in 2006. Now let that sink in. In 2009, it declined its annual revenue, and that was $2.8 billion. It's kind of funny because I ordered a book from Borders' website last Sunday night, and I'm still wondering if I'll ever get it.
I hope you do. We have to take a break, but we will be back. Please stay tuned.